Hello and welcome. So in this video, we are going to discuss multiplying and dividing decimal values by whole numbers. We're going to start with multiplication. So our first problem we're going to solve is 23.5 multiplied by 4. Now, when you have multiplication problems that are written like this, what you need to do is take the number on the bottom and multiply it by each of the digits on top, starting with the digit that's furthest to the right. So in this case, that's going to be 5. So let's multiply by 5 first. 4 multiplied by 5 is 20, but 20 is a double digit number, so we need to carry the 2, the same as we would with addition. We need to place it on top of the next digit. Let's do that. Now that we've carried the 2, we need to multiply 4 by the next digit on the top, which is by 3. 4 multiplied by 3 is 12, and we need to add 12 with the number that we already carried, 2. 12 plus 2 is 14. But 14 is a double digit number and we need to carry the 1. So let's do that. Now that we've carried the 1 in 14, let's go ahead and multiply 4 by the next digit. 4 multiplied by 2 is 8. And 8 plus the number that we carried, 1, is 9. So now that we've finished multiplying 4 by each of the digits on top, we need to place our decimal in our final answer. But where do we place it? In the original problem, the decimal is directly after the 3 and it's before the 5. A good and reliable method for knowing where to place the decimal in the final answer is to ask yourself, how many spaces would I need to move the decimal to the right in the problem to get the decimal at the very end of that number? In this case, we only needed to move the decimal 1 space to the right to get it to the end of the number 23.5. The number of spaces that it takes to move it to the right in the problem, that's the number of spaces we need to move it to the left in the answer. Okay? So, for example, if instead the decimal was after the 2, instead of here after the 3, that would mean we would need to move the decimal 2 spaces to the right to get the decimal to the very end of the number 2.35, which would mean we would need to take the decimal in the answer and move it the same number of spaces, but to the left. And that answer would be 9.40 or 9.4. Okay? So again, we're going to move the decimal 1 space to the right because that's the only number of spaces it would take to get that decimal to the end of the number. And we're going to take the decimal and move it 1 space to the left in the answer to get 94. So 23.5 multiplied by 4 is 94. Okay, so now let's try a division problem. And before we get started with dividing, I have good news for you. The same method for moving the decimal with multiplication is the same with division. All right, so that part is not going to be new for you since we just discussed it. So let's go ahead and divide. Now, there are a few different methods you can use to divide. The method I'm going to use in this video is a fraction bar. So I'm going to place the number that's being divided on top of the fraction bar and the number we're dividing by on the bottom, which is our whole number. Now, with this method, you always start with the digit that's furthest to the left and you try to divide that number by the number on the bottom. So 2 divided by 5. But that does not work because 2 is too small. So if the number is too small to divide, you can include the number next to it to make it large enough. So since 2 is too small to divide by 5, we're going to divide 23 by 5. 23 divided by 5 is 4. Now, you may wonder, well, how do I know how many times 5 can go into 23? So remember your multiplication tables and ask yourself, what number can you multiply 5 by to get as close to 23 as possible? Well, 5 times 4 equals 20, and that's pretty close to 23. As a matter of fact, that's as close as you can get. So that's how we know 4 is our answer. Now there is a remainder. You notice that when you divide 23 by 5, you have 3 left over. That's important. We need to include the remainder because it's going to help us with the rest of our problem. So now we're going to keep dividing. So let's try 3 divided by 5. Well, 3 divided by 5 is not going to work because 3 is too small. So just like we did in the beginning, we're going to include the digit next to 3 to make it large enough. So since 3 is too small to divide by 5, we're going to make this 35 divided by 5, which works, right? Because 35 divided by 5 is 7. All right. And there's no remainder because 5 multiplied by 7 equals 35. Now that we've done this, we have 47. We need to know where to place the decimal. And like I said originally, this is going to be pretty simple for you because we just talked about what we need to do with the decimal in multiplication and how it's the same with division. So we're going to count the number of spaces we move the decimal in the problem, which is only one space. And we take that same number of spaces to the left in the answer. So 23.5 divided by 5 is equal to 4.7. Okay, so let's try one by yourself. This time a multiplication problem. So 35.1 multiplied by 3. Pause the video and solve this problem. When you're finished, you can press play to see the answer as well as the explanation. Okay, welcome back. So the answer you should have gotten for this one is 105.3. So how did you get the answer for this one? Well, remember, the number on the bottom needs to be multiplied by each of the digits on the top, starting with 1. So 3 multiplied by 1 is 3. Next, 3 multiplied by 5 is 15. Well, 15 is a double-digit number. That means the digit that is in the tens place of 15 needs to be carried and placed over the 3 at the top. So let's do that. Now that we've done that, we can multiply 3 by the very last digit on the top, which is 3. So 3 multiplied by 3 is 9. Now we need to add the number that we carried, 1, with 9, and that gives us 10. Now, there's one more thing we need to do. We need to put our decimal in our final answer. And remember, the number of spaces it would take to move the decimal to the right in the problem is the number of spaces we need to move the decimal to the left in the answer. So our answer, 35.1 multiplied by 3, is 105.3. Let's try one more, this time a division problem. So 31.6 divided by 4. Pause the video, and when you're finished, press play to see the answer. Welcome back. Okay, so the answer you should have gotten for this one is 7.9. So let's see how we got that. First, let's try to divide the digit that's furthest to the left by the number on the bottom. So 3 divided by 4, it's not going to work because 3 is too small. So we're going to include 1 with 3 to get the number 31, and we're going to divide. So 4 goes into 31 7 times. And that's as close as we could get to 31 because 4 multiplied by 7 is 28. So that means we're going to have a little bit left over. From 28 to 31, we have a remainder of 3. So we're going to continue dividing. 3 cannot be divided by 4 because it's too small. So we're going to include the 6 that is next to the 3 to get 36. And 36 divided by 4 is 9. Okay, and we don't have a remainder because 4 multiplied by 9 is 36. Now that we've done that, we need to place our decimal into our answer. As we see in the problem, to get the decimal to the very end of the number 31.6, we only need to move the decimal one space to the right. That means we only need to move the decimal one space to the left in the problem. And we are finished. 31.6 divided by 4 equals 7.9. Great job. So remember, as always, it's important to learn, but it's also important to practice what you learn. So please practice everything that you've learned. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.